To those of you joining us today, thank you for watching the Woburn Spotlight. I'm your host, Tyler Gates, here to bring you some positivity by talking to those in town, making big strides for the greater good. Today I'm fortunate to have with me Frank Santo, General Manager and owner of The Local. Frank, nice to have you on.
Thanks for having us, Tyler.
So we're here to talk about your progression as owner, 4 restaurants now, Woburn being the most recent one. You're a Woburn guy by trade, huh?
I am, yeah, born and raised in Woburn, and actually from North Woburn, Ashburton Ave. I mean, I don't know if that means much to people here, but
It'll mean a lot to
I got a shout out to North Woburn, so
yeah.
It's St. Anthony's Parish. But yeah, born and raised. My father was born and raised. I'm one of 6. My brother Andy still lives in Woburn. My sister Mary still lives in Woburn, and my parents are still here in Woburn. So for us to, or for me and for my company to come back to Woburn was something I wasn't looking to do. The opportunity presented itself, and things kind of fell in place as far as the location on Cambridge Street out on the Winchester line. So one thing led to another, and I looked at it. I typically, a lot goes through, where I decide to open a restaurant, the location being the key to the process. It starts there. We look at locations and we decide, we take certain demographic information and we decide if we back it out of the rent, we look at the rent and we said, okay, this is what we need to do in sales. Do we think we can do this sales in this location? And that's what goes into that, to deciding on where we want to open. And we did due diligence there, and the Woburn location worked out. So, here we are.
I know, that's fantastic. I know we're here to talk about the Woburn location a little bit, get the word out about you guys, because you're a little hidden gem right there on the Woburn-Winchester line down by the golf course. And but before we kind of talk about the Woburn location, let's take a step back and tell us a little bit about the early phases of getting into this kind of an industry. What were some of your thoughts? Do you have any partners? What made you take that leap?
Well, I was, this is going way back now, but I actually was a school teacher originally, and I taught here in Woburn. Let's see, where did I teach? I taught at elementary, so I taught at, and they kind of moved me around. So I taught at the Wyman School. I taught at, let's see, where else? God, I didn't know some of them are even still there. I spent most of my time at the Wyman. The Tarkey, is that still there? No, I'm definitely aging myself.
I'm new to the area.
The Shamrock,
Shamrock,
is that still there? No?
I believe so.
Shamrock?
Yeah, Shamrock
okay,
is there.
good.
That one I have
Okay,
heard
good.
of, yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
That much I do know.
So various, Rumford, Linscott, okay, yeah. It's all coming back to me now. It was a while ago, but yeah, I mean, it was, I started out there as a school teacher, thought I was going to do it for the rest of my life, ended up, dare I say, getting laid off by the venerable Woburn school system. So I said, okay, I needed a job. So I started working in restaurants, and one thing led to another. I ended up buying with my college roommate, buying a bar in Jamaica Plain, which for a kid from Woburn and was very enlightening. As far as I won't be so cliche as there were bullets flying, but we weren't far from that. It was, and I don't know how many people remember, if anybody was from Boston, but remember the old elevated MBTA where they literally had it built up over the streets, and they went, over. So we tore that down, and there was a little bar there that I liked, so we ended up buying that, and that was the start of my restaurant business. But then one thing led to another, and I ended up selling my portion to my partner at the time, my roommate, Jay, And then I found a restaurant location in Dedham, a place called Isabella, which was my first foray out of my own. And, one thing led to another. I learned, pretty much learned from my mistakes there, and ended up, having a good, it was very well received by the media, and had a good 22-year run there. So I just sold that place probably 2 years ago. And in the meantime, deals would be presented to me, as far as opening different locations, and and this is kind of a unique story, was that my wife was in a book club, and with a bunch of women from Wellesley, and she got to be friendly with another wife in the book club, and her husband basically said, I've always wanted to, own a restaurant. And I said, whenever people say that to me, I always try to talk them out of it, because it's, it's
got to be a lot.
It's a lot of work, and it's, what they say about if you want to make a small fortune in the restaurant business, they tell you to start with the big one. And so, but no.
Yeah, no.
No.
That was good.
Yeah,
I can't say I'd heard that. That's too funny.
Yeah. So it's so we got together, had a few meetings, and he actually for lack of a better word, he's basically a Wall Street guy. He's not a restaurant guy. So he invests in different things, and he decided to do this, to invest in my company. And we found a location in West Newton. And I'll just give you a little bit of background on that location, and how we came up with the name of the local. So we found a location in West Newton, so we said, okay, we got to come up with a name. What are we going to call this thing? So I had a British girl working for me at Isabella in Dedham, and I said, so we were, I did a lot of brainstorming, had a lot of brainstorming meetings. I mean, that's the fun part of the restaurant business, is coming up with the name, the menu, what are we going to drink, the wine list. That's all that fun part of my job. Oh, you mean we got to taste these 45 cocktails? So okay, all right, we'll do it. But I said to her, we're sitting around one day. I said, so, tell me your favorite restaurant back in your hometown of England. And she, she thought for a little bit, and she said, in England, every restaurant, every pub has a name, but nobody uses the names. They said, and I said, well, what do you call it? Everybody in their different neighborhoods, I said, well, what do you call it? And they said, well, we call it the local, meaning their local pub. And so I said, oh, that's a good name. I said, do you mind if I use it? She said, no, go right ahead. So that's how we came up with the name. And it just kind of coincided with the whole, because we opened, when did we open that one? 2008 was the first one, and it coincided with, if we have like a lot of foodies out in the audience, the whole farm to table movement, buying local, eating local. So it did kind of cause some confusion, because we're not farm to table, but we do, what I decided to do was, let's get really involved with the local community and play off that. So, I mean, yeah, we're not in the back in our parking lot growing strawberries and herbs and things like that. No, but when we build them, we try our best to hire local contractors. We try our best, if I'm going to use a plumber, I mean, I'm going to try to find a Newton plumber, or I'm going to try to find a Woburn plumber. I'm going to try, things like that. So, yeah. And that's how we, came up with the mission statement for the local, was to just kind of, be really part of the community, become part of the local community, and that's, how we decided to develop the local concept, and we said, we could probably open more of these.
So where are your other locations? You have Newton and Woburn.
Newton was the first one. The second one was Wayland, and the third one was Wellesley, and the fourth one was Woburn. So you're noticing the W pattern. So it's like, it's we can only go to W towns. That's what I tell people. So we ended up having just a funny story was I got a good deal. There was, I'm pretty sure it was the Weston Country Club, and they had a bunch of, and when I say a bunch, I mean they probably had, 100 cases of wine glasses etched with W on them, and I had, they decided that they didn't want them, so one of my salespeople came to me and said, I'll give you a sweet deal on these wine glasses. They all have W's on them. And I said, okay, well, I'm in West Newton, I'm in Wellesley, I'm in Wayland, and, so I have all these wine glasses with W's on them. I said, we'll use them, we'll buy them.
Put them to good use.
Yeah, right. So
that is a funny story.
When the Woburn location came up, I said, we got the glasses, let's do it.
We got the wine glasses.
Yeah, right. It was
Figure
easy.
out the rest.
Yeah, so that's, so we ended up with the fourth location in Woburn.
Tell us a little bit about your menu yourself, because I know you said there's a little bit of a misconception there between like the farm to table aspect.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your menu, what went into the thought process behind it, and
well, we try to do. Obviously, we find that we want to create a place where we can get as many visits as we can per week, per month. So obviously price and value is what we're all about. I mean, so we're not, we're definitely not fine dining. We are, very, what we like to call approachable. We do run specials, which allow our chefs to kind of, show their chops and whatnot. So each location does have a chef in there, and we go from our best-selling items are probably the burgers, steak tips, and what we have now, we brought in some of these noodle bowls, which are selling really well, and we kind of just have like an eclectic kind of thing where you're going to find something that you want to eat there. Mm-hmm. And hopefully you'll find something that you want to eat in there 2, 3, 4 times a month.
So there's a little of everything on the menu, or somebody can find a little of something.
Yeah. In fact, today we just right before I got here, I had it come from a tasting with a vegetarian burger company, which was surprisingly good. So. I mean, not being a vegetarian, but it will be. Yeah. It'll make its way on the menu, so it'll actually be 100% vegetarian and vegan. So that should be interesting.
Option for people.
It is.
That's a great option.
I mean, and we're seeing more and more call for it. We're seeing more and more people need to know what's going into their bodies and what are they eating. It's not that people, and I hesitate to say that people are eating healthier. I mean, they definitely are more, they're more open to eating healthier, but it's more or less they just want to know what's going into their food. And
they want to be cognizant of what's happening.
Yeah, it's this, what's the story on this? Where's the burger coming from? Where's your steak coming from? What cut is it? What are you doing to it? And we see a lot more of that, and it's my job to be able. It's my job to be able to answer those questions for the guests. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, what are we seeing accompanying the food? What do you have for beverages? You have quite the extensive wine list.
Yeah,
or draft list?
We have a full draft beer list. In fact, we feature, going along with our local theme, we're featuring pretty much all local beers, and it's slipping my mind. The Woburn Brewery. What's
Lord Hobo?
Lord Hobo.
Okay.
Yeah, our feature draft.
I figured that's
yeah,
where you were
right,
going
right.
with
It's
that.
our feature draft,
Yeah.
and the response has been great. People love it. These guys, they come into the restaurant, and they're great guys, great partners to have. So we thoroughly enjoy working with a local Woburn brewery, and the beer's real good too. So
That makes it easier to partner
it
up
makes
when,
it easy.
when
Again,
there's a
another
good product.
Again, another tough part of my job, where you got to line up a bunch of beer and say, which one do you like? I mean, it's like I don't taste too many bad ones.
Let me try it just one more time
right,
to make sure.
Right. So it's been great, and it's the response from the. When I first get into this business, all you needed was Bud and Bud Light, and that's pretty much not the way it is anymore.
That's not the case
like,
anymore.
I mean, I can remember my early days in this business, the Budweiser truck pulling up out front, and the guy would be there for half an hour to unload, the cases and cases. And now it's like, the Bud guy drops off 3 cases, and it's the Lord Hobo guy he's there for a half an hour unloading the kegs and unloading the. So it's an interesting shift in the business.
With your experience in the industry, I'm just out of curiosity from my own standpoint, have you seen major shifts? What kind of major shifts have you seen? I'm sure there are some out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can just tell from your own own dining habits, like gluten-free, huge now. I mean, it didn't exist, 5 years ago.
That's fair.
People concerned with vegetarian, vegan, no animal fat, no protein. I mean, more protein, less carbohydrates. I mean, everything. We have to respond to pretty much everything that the customer is looking for. That, luckily for us, every dish made to order. So, you can do pretty much anything. I mean, it's to what we have on our menu. If it's at all possible, we do it.
Yeah.
But we're definitely seeing much more customization of each menu item, for sure.
Interesting. Okay. So Laura Ketting, one of the driving forces behind marketing in the local, was sharing a story with me about Wellesley being kind of like the spot. So you win a game, you go to the local. Mm-hmm. You have a big event, you go to the local. It sounds like that's a big trend in your organization. What are you doing in the communities to help kind of drive that trend forward?
Well, we try to get involved in pretty much anything as far as, and I go back to, when I was growing up in Woburn, it was the Tanner's National. I played for I can still remember the Tanner's National Bank Yankees, or it was always the sponsors that helped out with the sports teams, and so now we try to get involved in anything as far as sports, and now even women's sports huge now too. So that's even more opportunity for us to get involved, in, and not to just limit it to sports, to get involved in different singing groups, choral groups, anything involved with the schools, because what we found when I was growing up here too, it was the schools and the high schools were very active in the community. That's where where your base of your business is. It becomes where the kids want to eat. Also, they bring the parents and they bring the families. So that's what we try to build off. That is try to get involved as much as we can in the community, and that will bring in people to come to dine in our location.
And so, please correct me if I'm wrong. I heard something along the lines of certain days of the year, certain events, proceeds go directly from the local to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do we call fundraiser nights, and where they can get in touch with Laura Keating, who represents the Woburn location, and she has very active as far as reaching out to different community groups, and they can use the local for a fundraiser where they to make a long story short, they basically come in and we'll take, say they bring in a group of 40 or 50 people, they dine there, and then we take a percentage of those sales and it goes directly to their group.
Okay.
So
That's
it's a good, easy way to do it. It works for us, and it works for them too. It works for the group because, it creates, creates activity in the restaurants on some of our off nights, like Monday or Tuesday nights. And who doesn't want to help out a local ski team, golf team, baseball team, whatever. So that's it works out. And it's like anything. The best deals work for both people. So, that's what we like to do.
Let's talk about that location a little bit. The Horn Pond Plaza area, down on Cambridge Road, like you were mentioning, right on the Woburn-Winchester line, right next to Whole Foods or across from Whole Foods. Yep. How's that location treating you so far, space, conduciveness-wise?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it change up a little bit. It's, I love the location. I thought it was a great location for us. Excuse me. It was a little confusing. It's kind of a strange parking lot to get into, and to just reiterate, as far as finding locations, sometimes I don't like to call myself a genius. I mean, but I figured, hey, Whole Foods is there. There must be, must be people that like Whole Foods, and it certainly was a busy one. So that kind of helped us. Yeah. As far as sealing the deal with it, it must be a good location if they're here. So that's how we. That was pretty much, that Whole Foods customer we felt is a customer that we could reach.
And that road I know is very much traveled, and one of the things you said earlier is traffic is good in this business, right?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I don't complain about traffic because it means people are going out and they're going somewhere.
They're going somewhere.
That's right. So hopefully they come into the local eventually.
Well, great. Well, I appreciate you sharing a little bit about your organization, a little bit about you, and kind of your mission today. What would you like to kind of leave the viewers with? Any last comments? Any last thoughts?
I would just like to invite them in to. I mean, it's our newest location. I'd love to invite everybody in, and I try to spend as much time there as I can. Little anecdotally, I do have to, still come out and visit my mom and dad, on a regular basis. So I always, tie that in with a trip to the restaurant, and feel free to reach out to me, and I'd love to catch up on some old Woburn, and Winchester was our big rival. So any of the old Winchester people that hated me when I was playing football here in Woburn, they could certainly reach out, and and we could shake hands finally.
Well, break some bread and make amends, huh?
There you go. Make amends. Yes.
Well, Frank, well, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate
Thanks for having me.
Having your time or giving us your time. And I've been there quite a few times. So I'm
stopping
stopping in for lunch tomorrow. My office right there. So
good.
I look forward to bumping into you again.
All right, great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
And thank you for watching today's show with Frank Santo, the owner of The Local here in Woburn. And remember, we all have one life to live. Let's all try to do our part. I'm your host, Tyler Gates. Join us again next time for another episode of the Woburn Spotlight.